Hey guys, today I'm going to show you some useful macros to utilize in Final Fantasy XIV PvP, specifically in Crystalline Conflict. However, some of these macros can be used in other PvP modes as well, including Frontlines and Rival Wings. Before we get into it, it's worth mentioning that targeting macros are especially useful to ensure that your team is hitting the same target. One of the worst things you can have is an uncoordinated team where everyone is dropping their burst into different targets instead of just focusing one down. So having an experienced shot caller on your team can be huge for making the most out of your team's damage and for setting up coordinated dives on the targets. And with that, let's go ahead and get started. Starting with a silent mark attack 1 macro. What this does is it marks your current target with a 1 marker and clears the 2, 3, 4, 5, and circle markers. Something to note is that most NA players prefer the 1 marker over the circle. So this macro automatically clears that shape marker to avoid confusion when it comes to the kill target, just in case you have a shape enjoyer on your team. Some players like to throw the attacking target quick chat command in this macro, but I personally don't think it's necessary, and it reduces overall quick chat spam by leaving it out. Next, we have a countdown 3, 2, 1 macro. When pressed, this macro initiates a countdown on your current target and sends the attacking target quick chat command in chat. This macro is good for letting your team know when you plan to attack a specific target and allows them time to coordinate the attack with you. Next up, we have a countdown 3, 2, 1 circle macro. Similar to the previous macro, when pressed, this macro initiates a countdown on your current target and sends the attacking target quick chat command in chat. The only difference is, this one also utilizes the circle marker at the end of the countdown, which can be great for making sure everyone times their burst on a target at the same time. The circle marker automatically gets cleared after 3 seconds, so you don't have to worry about it lingering on your target for too long. Next, we have a clear all markers macro. This macro is especially useful when you have multiple markers out during a match, or if you have someone that thinks it's good to mark targets 1 to 5 at the beginning of a match. This macro is really good for shutting that kind of thing down, and is great to make it so your team can avoid overall target confusion. Next, we have a paladin specific cover macro. When pressed, this macro announces in chat who you're using Guardian on, puts the bind marker on your target, and automatically clears the marker after 10 seconds. You'll still want to press the Guardian action manually, since macroed actions go off slower than just pressing the action itself. This macro is pretty much a must for Paladin players since it makes it super obvious to your teammates when they get covered, allowing them to get a free standard issue elixir off. It's also worth mentioning that there will be times where you'll want to cover a target without notifying them, most commonly for repositioning out of a bad situation. It'd also be good to have a target to bind marker off macro handy to clear the bind marker since wait timers are interrupted by other macros. And lastly, I figured I'd throw this ninja specific macro in here too. What this macro does is it will shikuchi directly to your current target. In most situations, it's still better to use the action itself and aim where you want to go, but this macro can be useful for getting right on top of your target for a quick assassinate. Well, that'll pretty much do it for this video. I want to give a big thanks to John Dark Souls for his input on the Paladin cover macro and for allowing me to use a few clips from his stream in this video. If there are any macros that you use in PvP that you find useful that I didn't cover, feel free to share them down in the comments. And as always, thanks for watching guys. I'll see you next time.